The small edit loop. So, a client gives you feedback in a very vague comment like, well, can we make this pop a little bit, or like something like that? Just like, we're not quite there yet. We'll know where we're there when we see it, right? So let's say you're now on version 4, or something, and then, that should have been done already yesterday. And so how do you take control back? How do you manage this situation? So first of all, again, goes back to the basics. In your onboarding process, in your contract, you have to mention how many revisions of your work you are allowing, in working with the client. So that you don't end up in having version 4.0. Let's say if you say there's 4 revisions, there's 4 revisions. It is what it is, and the client has to respect that. Again, that relationship has to be based on respect both ways. You respect the client by being professional, by doing the work the way you do in terms of the quality and time management and all that stuff. And the client has to respect you as well. They do not own you. They pay you for the service, and your service includes a number of revisions. So that's one kind of point of the discussion. The other one is to make sure that the client is very specific about what they want. And you have to press the client to give you an answer. What do you mean by pop more? What do you mean by it just doesn't feel right? Like, specifically, the client has to tell you not what to fix. If you're a designer, you're not asking them, make this bigger, make this smaller, because 2 things. 1, that's not their job. 2, you don't like, they'll get upset if you ask them like what exactly they want you to change, and then they're micromanaging you. And 2, you don't want them to tell you like what to do. You're the owner, you're the designer, right? So same with you, like if you build funnels, if the client tells you, oh, let's create this funnel, and the other version of the funnel will work better, you cannot do what a client wants. I mean, yes, you can, but there has to be a caveat like, hey, dear client, if you don't want to follow our proven process, then you're really putting your untested process to test. And if you're willing to do that, sure, but just know that this is not our process and we don't necessarily recommend this. And by the way, I would never do that. If I have a process, I have to follow my process. If you don't want to follow my process, go find someone else. So, but going back to the revisions, number of revisions have to be very specific, but also what's important is that you, again, ask the client to be very specific as well in terms of like, what exactly do you want? What exactly do you need to change? If it's content, like, do you need a different style? What kind of style do you need? It's not like, oh, I just wanted more, just a different style. Like, okay, well, do you have an example, right? So obviously there's a fine line in this, and it's an art. It's a little bit of a dance of like how you deal with that. With when working with clients, it's a little bit easier when you run let's say ads, paid ads, and you have something that's very technical because you can see the outcome, it's there or not, and you have to fix it. But if you do something that's more creative, so like branding or video editing or even content, it's a little bit more vague on that front. But you have to make sure that you ask the client and you push the client to tell you exactly what they want, and ask them to give you examples. If they're not able to give you examples, you get them examples from other kind of creators to say, hey, is this the style you're looking at? Is this thing that you're thinking about? So that you can at least point in the right direction, and they tell you, yes, that's exactly it, right? So make sure you have established a number of revisions, and then push them to be more specific.